Yeah, turkey breast can be infamous for being a bit dry if you don't treat it accordingly. And what I mean by accordingly is you really want to brine it first. And it can be a simple brine. Salt, sugar, black pepper, totally up to you. In this case here, I'm not putting any black pepper. Later on in my rub, I will put black pepper in there. But I'm going to enhance it because, again, I want those herb flavors deep within this turkey breast. So I've got salt, equal parts salt, and I like using brown sugar. A golden brown sugar, I find that I get a better flavor out of that brown sugar. If you want to use white sugar, by all means, rock that. Yes, I showed you several recipes doing brine before. So if you want to skip this part, you can skip this part. I got some rosemary, not the biggest fan, but it works with turkey and with roasting any sort of poultry. Fresh thyme, I am not a fan of dried thyme, and 3 scallions. And all we really need to do is to dump everything into some lukewarm water. Yeah, salt, sugar. And what I'm gonna do with the rosemary is sort of bruise it up a little bit because I want those flavors to really come out. Same with the thyme. Just gonna bruise that and dump that in there. If you want to put some garlic in there, totally up to you. And I'm gonna crush the the scallion. Some of you call it spring onion, some of you call it what else do we call it? Spring onion, green onions. There we go. And the reason why I started with lukewarm water is because I want to melt that sugar and that salt, because that is gonna do its job in there. Now what you need to do, I have a big bowl, and over here you can see I have, I think it's about 7 pounds a turkey breast. I'm going to put with the skin on. What I'm going to do is the breast, the meat side, and I'll show you once I put it in here. That's going to go skin side down in here. But what I want to do is add some cool water, some cold water in here, because we want that water to be cold. You know, you can use a bigger container as well too, totally up to you. But the whole idea is to put that in there. You see, I added cold water in here. Ice water basically is what you want to add in there. And then you're gonna take your turkey breast, and you can see that is the bone, the sort of cavity there. And I'm just gonna dump that down in there. And I'm going to top that up with some more water. I'm going to put some cling wrap over it and into the fridge for 3 hours. If you want to do it overnight, you will get better results. In my case here, I want to get this done today, so it's what, 8-9 o'clock in the morning now. So I'm going to brine that for about 3 hours, and you want to make sure some of that goes all in there. Yeah, and you want to make sure that liquid completely covers this, or at least this is the bone part. I'm not too concerned about that. I'm more concerned about the meat or the flesh or the breast itself. So there we go. We have it all tucked away nicely in there. I'm going to put some cling wrap over it, and it's important that you put it in the fridge or somewhere cold, because you want to maintain that cool temperature, just to promote. We don't want to promote bacteria growth and salmonella and all. You know, we're not supporting those guys this Christmas season. Anyways, 3 hours. Let's make a sort of a herb or a compound butter to add on top of the turkey breast, because this is where most of that flavor during roasting is gonna happen, and we're gonna put some directly on the skin and below the skin as well too. My oven is preheating to 350 Fahrenheit. I have a stick of butter, that's salted butter, and I'm gonna go in with a nice dose of fresh ground black pepper. I've got fresh thyme that I gave a rough chop to, so that's about a tablespoon of fresh thyme. Something I'm not the biggest fan of, again, rosemary. We used it in the brine, so I'm trying to repeat those flavors. So about 3/4 tablespoon or so of chopped rosemary. I've got 2 scallions that I gave a rough chop to. Pull all of that down. Some parsley, and of course I love a lot of garlic in there, so I've got some crushed garlic. That's about 6 cloves of garlic that I chopped. I'm just going to move the herbs aside, and all we're going to do is give that a really good mix. And this here, ladies and gentlemen, is a herb butter or compound butter with all those lovely herbs in there. Now later on you will see me use sage. I'm not going to put the sage in here because, like rosemary, sage is not one of those flavors I thoroughly enjoy. However, it gives it that sort of poultry. If you're accustomed to poultry seasoning, there's a lot of sage in there, so I want to replicate that. But you know, I am not a fan of dried herbs. I am not a fan of all-purpose seasoning and all those things because they have a ton of additives in those sort of store-bought stuff. So I much prefer using fresh. So I will show you how I will use that sage shortly. So we're all set now. What I would recommend you do is to remove the sort of backbone here, and what I did was I butterfly the turkey breast, which means I cut the bone and I pressed, well, you go like this and you press down on it and the bone will snap, which allows it to lay flat. What you need to do at this point now is pat it really dry. You want to make sure you get all of that. Oh, and by the way, I allowed it to brine for 3 hours, then I took it out of the fridge for about half an hour to come back up to room temperature. And this is where we are now. I gave it a good rinse. And yes, you dump all that herbs and seasonings and everything else that we brined it with. So here we are now. So what we need to do, and I'm just, you know, I'm working with poultry, so gotta be mindful. I'm gonna bleach everything down after. We're gonna sort of raise the skin and just lift it like so. Get your fingers in there, and we're gonna put some of that compound butter all up inside there. Yeah, just gonna take a nice tablespoon of that, tuck it in there, and just press down. This is after I went in with my fingers and I made some room here. Try not to remove the skin from where it's attached in the center, because at the end of the day we need that skin on there. Yeah, so another big whack of that. Just gonna put it there, and you'll see all I did was I squeezed it like that. I'm gonna pull the skin back down, and I'm just gonna work that in there. Yeah, and what that does, it gives you nice deep rich flavor. And remember, the whole idea is not to have a dry turkey breast at the end of the day. So while we did brine it and everything, and that helps quite a bit, that butter there will keep that turkey breast nice and moist as well. Yeah, so notice what happened there. Just look at that. That butter is going to melt while it roasts in the oven and just go deep within the the turkey breast itself. The other thing we want to do is to just gonna hit that one more pat dry, and then we're gonna take the remaining butter and just paste that all over the top. Yeah, nice and even as best as you can. If it's not dry, it's gonna start sliding off on you, and you really don't want that. You don't want to ruin a nice thing, man. So make sure you have it nice and dry. Slap, slap. I have my roasting pan ready, and inside of it I have just under about 1.5 to 2 cups of chicken stock. This is going to become the base for my gravy later. And to that, I don't know if you all recall, I said I wanted to add some sage. So there goes some sage in there. I want more of that rosemary. And of course, the thyme. I'm just repeating. I love repeating the flavors. And remember, we brined it with those flavors. We have it in the compound butter. Now here's the thing, I don't want the chicken breast sitting directly in that liquid, because what's going to happen, that's going to boil, and I don't want to boil the chicken breast, the turkey breast. I just want to roast it. If you don't have a wire rack, and that is what I'm putting here, where it sits, it elevates it off the chicken stock. What you can do is to rough chop some carrot and celery, and that will add flavor to the broth. What's going to happen is, as this roasts in the oven, the liquid is going to get hot, the herbs are going to start releasing all those flavors, and it's going to kiss it with all those lovely perfume of the chicken stock, herbs, wire rack, roasting pan, turkey breast sitting on there. We need to protect this as it roasts, so I'm just going to lightly tint it with foil into the oven, middle rack, 350 degrees Fahrenheit. 2 hours later, what I'm going to do is remove the foil that I had lightly tinted over it. At this point I can remove most of that stock that's really fortified with all those flavors in there. Like I said, that's going to become the base for my gravy. What we're going to do now, you want it about 20 minutes per pound. This one at 350 degrees Fahrenheit. This one was about 7 pounds, which means 2.5 hours. So the 2-hour mark, I'm going to remove that, put it back into the oven, and let that roast the final half hour without the tin, without the foil over it, just to develop more color and stuff like that. Essentially what you're looking for, if you want in with an instant read thermometer, the thickest part there, it fully done, perfect for eating and everything else, nice and juicy, 165 degrees Fahrenheit or so. But again, 20 minutes per pound and you should be fine. Sup soldiers, listen, if you enjoy this recipe, I'd really appreciate it if you hit subscribe and click that bell notification thing. If you've made the recipe, take a picture and send it to me, email address down here. I'm trying to tell people the email address, them butts will take the address and do all kind of thing with it. And tag me on Instagram at Caribbean Pot. I really appreciate you guys, and thanks for being in my kitchen with me today. Irie. 2.5 hours later, listen, Uncle Chris having a feast tonight. That's my oven coming up to temperature there for some Yorkshire pudding. If you know, you know. But anyhow, oh gosh, oven, enough is enough now. You still going on, boy? This thing like to sing. Anyhow, 2.5 hours later, and this is what we're left with here. A beautiful roasted turkey breast. I'm gonna tent it again with foil before I slice into it. I want it to come back up, you know. Listen, the more it relaxes, the more them juices will start doing nice things for us. So tent it, give it about 15-20 minutes before you carve it up, and you know, organize whatever you don't eat. Sandwiches tomorrow. Gravy, corn. I've got some mashed potato over there. Yeah, I still got my cranberry sauce that I made back in October for Canadian Thanksgiving, and a Yorkshire pudding. And I good, not Caribbean, eh? But you see the roasted and the seasoning and the herbs and all that, very Caribbean. Watch me, if you understand, you understand. We just season the thing. Enjoy. I hope I'll get an opportunity to give this one a try, yeah? Because it's very nice. Kitchen smelling wicked, boy.